Hello and welcome to this edition of Diaspora Central. I am Gil Ingles, and with us today in the studio, it's a gentleman that definitely makes sure that the community is good when it comes to a lot of community activities. He's, of course, part of the SHAPE Community Center, and they have one of the events that I believe that our community definitely would love to attend, one of the events that I believe that our community would enjoy. Excuse me, my slurring. I'm already salivating just thinking about it. And it is the International Food Festival. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr.
Terry Parker.
Terry Parker.
Correct.
Mr. Terry Parker, welcome to Diaspora Central.
Well, thank you for having me, Gil.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
for having me. I'm excited about some of the information we're going to be sharing with our audience.
Indeed. Now, you guys have a lot going on in the community. Of course, I mean, I just mentioned you guys as being the hosts of the International Food Festival is one of the activities that you guys do. But SHAPE's Community Center does a lot more than that.
Oh, you best believe. You best believe. Well, first of all, SHAPE Center has been in existence we're going on 53 years
Wow.
in the community. And embarking on 54.
Okay.
And Deloitte Parker is the executive director, and always he's the first and only executive director of the SHAPE Community Center.
Okay.
And he's standing strong, standing tall, still bridging the gap, if you will, between cultures, and simultaneously maintaining its African centeredness, if you will.
Okay.
And but some of the other activities that SHAPE has done, and some of the annual activities are the annual Pan-African Festival, which is I'll say the Pan-African Cultural Festival.
Okay.
Where we highlight African culture.
Got you.
And that's event we have vendors that come in with their wares and their oils and their garbs and their food and what have you.
Yeah.
And it's a fun day. It's held annually.
Okay.
Also,
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but when does that normally happen?
in the month of May.
Okay.
It's on schedule right now. They charge you to my head and not my heart
Okay.
on the exact date.
Got you.
But if you call 713-521-0629, they can give you the exact date and time of the event.
Indeed.
But it is an annual event.
Yeah, and you guys also have a website, correct?
Well, there's a website,
Okay.
shape@shape.org.
Okay, so shape
At shape.org.
org. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but you were talking about the Pan-African Festival.
Yes.
Okay. Something that basically unites all all people of African descent.
From all over the world.
Yeah, from all over the world. Let's kind of try to connect this back to heritage and figure out exactly what caused or what brought about the creation of the SHAPE Center. A little bit of the history.
A little bit of
you know?
history is that, and it goes back to its director. I'm sure many people who are listening heard of Reverend Bill Lawson,
Okay.
who was the pastor at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. Deloitte was already an activist, if you will,
Okay.
student at University of Houston,
Okay.
involved in social justice, the struggle in social justice. And Reverend Lawson was quite familiar with Deloitte's activities and his involvement. And he called Deloitte one day and said, "Hey, I want you to head a community center, feeding the children in the community."
Okay.
Deloitte took on that task, and it spiraled. It spiraled to being a full-fledged institution where not only feeding children, but a civil rights organization,
Okay.
an educational institution. And before you know it, the SHAPE Center had acquired their 501c3, and it evolved to what it is today over the years, hosting many cultural activities. And I mentioned the Pan-African Festival, but also I mentioned SHAPE, by those that don't know, stands for Self-Help for African People Through Education. Self-Help for African People Through Education. Those are the acronyms.
Okay.
And even though the acronyms are SHAPE for African People Through Education, SHAPE right now, I would say, is self-help for all people through education, since it embraces all cultures,
Right.
still being African-centered.
Yeah. Indeed.
And some of the other activities that SHAPE hold would be the Kwanzaa. SHAPE was the first organization in Houston to sponsor the Kwanzaa activities.
Okay.
I'm sure people know what Kwanzaa is.
Yes.
We celebrate Kwanzaa during what people call the Christmas holidays, if
Right.
you will.
In December, normally.
In December.
Right.
And it partners with other organizations,
Okay.
African-centered organizations within the city of Houston, to host at their respective facilities. But SHAPE is typically the kickoff point for Kwanzaa. In fact, we had a visit from Ron Karinga, the inventor
Oh, okay.
of Kwanzaa, when we began celebrating Kwanzaa here in Houston.
Wow. And what year was that? Do you remember by any chance?
The year escapes me.
I got you. Okay. But no big deal, because you guys are definitely shaping. You guys are
Absolutely.
definitely shaping the community, right?
Absolutely.
Taking in a lot of work and doing a lot for
Absolutely.
for the people.
But to continue, some of the things that SHAPE is involved in, SHAPE has a summer youth program.
Okay.
Where we take children and we have field trips, and within the confines of the activities of that particular event, we have what you call the Freedom Tour,
Okay.
where we take children and on a bus tour where they actually retrace the civil rights movement. They go to Selma, Alabama. They go to Mississippi. They go to Louisiana, all the places where civil rights was highlighted back in the 60s.
Got you.
And they get a feel.
Okay.
They actually relive some of the civil rights movement. They go to where Martin Luther King was assassinated, where he was born, the church that he pastored.
Right.
They're just involved in, and they see all that our ancestors went through.
Right. Now, around what time of the year does that happen?
It
And
happens
how
during
old do children need to be in order to take part in this
The
event?
children are typically between 9 and 20.
Okay.
Even some of the parents go on this trip.
Yes.
Because some of the parents are ignorant to some of our history with
Indeed.
respect to civil rights.
Indeed. Now, you guys have been based in Houston for quite a while, I would say.
53 years
53 years.
and counting.
And counting. Yeah, long time. It's a
Yes.
long time. That's a lifetime. That's 1970 would be, right?
Well,
1969,
late
1970?
60s.
1969, 1970. Wow. That's a lifetime.
Yes,
Seen a lot,
absolutely.
done a lot as an institution. As you look at the shape of the community today, shape, right?
No pun intended.
Exactly. How do you guys feel?
About the shape of the community.
Yeah.
We're evolving.
Okay.
I think we're evolving. And I think that evolution comes about through knowing who we are as a people, knowing our contributions, knowing where we came from. And when our children understand our history, they begin to respect each other.
Indeed.
You know, we have a lot of, they talk about the black on black crime, if you will. A lot of that takes place because we don't know who we are. If I know that I come from royalty and that black people come from royalty, I'll be less likely to harm my brother because I know he comes from royalty too.
Right.
And people must understand that slaves weren't taken from Africa. What was taken from Africa were engineers, doctors,
Right.
scholars,
Right.
inventors.
Right.
But we have to understand where we came from and who we were,
Right.
and who we still are. It's just a matter of realizing who we are.
Indeed. Yeah. Definitely one of the men that helps lead, or one of the gentlemen that helps lead the institution that helps shape the community, which is self-help for African people through education.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and take our first break and take a look at a few images of the activities that this institution does, and we'll be right back. And we are back. If you just joined us, you now tuned into Diaspora Central with Gil Ingles, and our guest today is Mr. Terry Parker. Yes, a gentleman that is part of the institution that is helping to shape our community and shape his self-help for African people through education, or self-help for all people through education from an African perspective. This is a community center, plenty of activities.
Yes.
Now, previously, we of course mentioned the food festival,
Yes.
the Pan-African Festival,
Kwanzaa.
the Kwanzaa, and then the tour.
The Freedom Tour.
Okay, the Freedom Tour. Okay, but I'm sure that you guys have a lot more going on.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
One thing that I would be remiss not to mention with the fact that Shape Center, in many instances, is considered the United Nations of the hood,
Okay.
if you will.
I like that.
Yes.
The United Nations of the hood.
Because everybody that comes to Houston
Right.
wind up at the Shape Center
Okay.
because they get some history there. And not only that, but the Shape Center has been considered the birthing place of other organizations.
Okay.
I mentioned that Kwanzaa
Yes.
started at the Shape Center here in Houston. The United Black Front
Okay.
was birthed through the Shape Center. Tugumba House, a theater group, was birthed through the Shape Center. The Freedom Tour began at the Shape Center. The Pan-African Festival began at the Shape Center. Organizations, individuals come to the Shape Center seeking guidance and leadership from its director.
Okay.
And if we see that it's going to be a benefit to the community, that it's going to benefit positively in the community, then we embrace it, we help it to grow. We help it to grow. Now, another organization was birthed through the Shape Center, an organization called the Positive Black Male.
Okay.
And
So
Positive Black Male is basically getting black men to mentor black children
okay.
in a positive way.
Got you. So it's basically a self-help
Yeah, absolutely.
organization. Now, were you born and raised here in the city of Houston?
My brother and I, and my family, my mother, we had 10 brothers, and well, there were 10 of us in our family.
Okay. You have 10 siblings.
10 siblings, of course.
Okay.
3 have passed on, have
Okay.
transitioned, but there's 7 of us that still exist. We were born in a little place called Port Arthur, Texas, which is about 90 miles east of here.
Okay.
And I came to Houston in '69 upon graduation from high school, in '68. And I went to attended TSU. I was in Houston for about a year.
Okay.
I left Houston and I went to Los Angeles, California, where I lived for 5 years.
Okay.
There I was an activist.
Okay.
A lot of folks don't know this about me, but I was a part of the Black Panther movement
Okay.
while living in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And my leaving Los Angeles was not a voluntary thing. I put
Okay.
it like that. And I won't get into the details of that
Okay.
for legal reasons.
Okay.
But I'm here in Houston now, and I'm back in my activism role.
Right. Okay. Now, so going also from two different coasts of the country, it kind of exposed you to America in a different way. Of course, you from Port Arthur to Houston, then to California.
Yes.
Right. So once you get back from California to Houston, what exactly is your impression of what the state of the country was?
Well, before going to the state of the country, I go into the state of Houston.
Okay.
Because I saw Houston was somewhat lagging in civil rights. It was somewhat lagging in social justice. It was in the struggle.
Okay.
But I saw that California, or LA in particular, was a little bit more advanced than Houston was.
Okay.
But Houston was evolving.
Okay.
And gladly and proudly, I can say that Shape Community Center was part of that.
Right.
That struggle to evolve into where it should be. Yeah. But the state of the country, still civil rights was a big issue back then.
Right.
It was the struggle for social justice was a big issue back then, and still is.
Yes.
But I can say we've made some progress, and our continued progress, I think, is contingent on how well we educate our youth.
Okay. Indeed. quite right. And I mean, it starts early.
Yes.
Right? And one of the things that, for instance, I like to take a look at is, of course, in the most recent years, the entire world witnessed the event with George Floyd.
Absolutely.
Of course, who is someone from this city,
right,
from the city of Houston. And I am sure that I would consider you to be a Houstonian, of course, because you have spent probably most of the time in your life in the region.
Correct.
Right? And you do a lot to promote the region and to improve the condition of the region.
Absolutely.
One, as a citizen, two, as a member of the SHAPE Center.
Yes.
What, in your opinion, do you believe that would have helped reshape what happened?
I'm trying to follow you.
Okay, and that is in regards to the actual event of George Floyd, right? It's basically an encounter of a citizen and the police force, right? And of course, as being a member of the SHAPE community, a lot of times being a liaison, right?
Review board.
Right,
That's
okay.
it. Citizen Review Board.
Okay.
Accountability of police officers.
Okay.
That has been the issue.
Right.
Qualified immunity. That has been the issue.
Okay.
Yeah. For years, and many have been caught on camera recently. Now everybody has a cell phone now.
Right.
We can actually capture these events that take place between police and citizens, particularly our black citizens.
Right.
And even though we have cell phones, there's some that are not caught on cell phones. I think one of the differences is that the revolution is being televised.
Right. Yeah.
It's being
Gil
televised,
Scott
like Gil Scott Heron said. It's being
Right.
televised now. We can see it.
Yeah.
One of the good things that came out of this is that we've seen some uniting of people all over the world.
Right.
A lot of people haven't taken notice to this, but every country where we were taken captive, that very country had protests regarding that issue of George Floyd.
Right.
Isn't that amazing?
Right. It became a global phenomenon.
It was global.
Right. It became a global phenomenon. Now, post event, of course, there's plenty of work to still do in the community.
Absolutely.
Right. And what do you believe that the community needs to either know or be aware of, or what are some of the tips that as a community activist you would share with the community to help improve that condition?
Improve police community relations.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Involvement.
Okay. Define that for us.
Protest. Speak up.
Okay.
Speak out. No more business as usual. My brother Deloitte always made this statement that we can protest and we can demonstrate till we're blue in the face. But if no programming comes out of that protest, it's futile.
Right.
So we need more institutions. We need more organizations. We need more people speaking out and speaking up. They say the squeaky wheel gets more oil.
Right.
We need to be that squeaky wheel.
Okay.
And we need to have more organizations and even existing organizations becoming involved in the social justice struggle.
Right. Now, of course, as a previous member of the Black Panther, there's always that bit of a negative connotation that goes with the Black Panther Party, right? And for the education of our listeners, of our audience, define or describe to us what the Black Panther was really about.
I mentioned this term social justice, and I'll mention it again.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that the Black Panther was about. It was not about killing police. You see, we have a lot of negative media that feeds negative images of our people and what we do and what we're about.
Right.
Don't believe it.
Okay.
Don't believe the hype.
Okay.
Believe the truth.
Right.
So basically, the Black Panther movement was involved in education, just as SHAPE is today, educating our youth as to who they are, and understanding that we had rights as a people, and there was another people that was trying to take those rights from us. For example, the rights to bear arms.
Okay.
Black Panthers did bear arms,
Right.
and it was legal until it was made illegal.
Okay.
You know, but they, the media had played a bigger role in projecting a negative image of the Black Panther Party,
Okay.
just as they are doing right now to project negative images of Black people in general.
Right. Now,
So we're trying to change the image.
right. Now, and that's part of changing the narrative, of course. We know that the SHAPE Center is doing plenty
Yes.
to do so. So let's go ahead and take another break and go into a few images again of activities that the SHAPE Center does. And we'll be right back. If you just tuned in, you are now joined into Diaspora Central Spotlight with Gil Ingles, and our guest today is Mr. Terry Parker, one of the gentlemen that does help the SHAPE Community Center reshape the community here in Houston. We'll be right back.
Hey, okay. Hey, okay. Hey, okay. Ice water. I just want some water. Ice on my neck got me frozen. Haters just mad 'cause they say I'm not worried 'cause I'm glad. Yeah. I just want some water. Ice on my neck got me frozen. Haters just mad 'cause they say I'm not worried 'cause I'm glad.
And we are back. If you just joined us, you're now tuned into Diaspora Central Spotlight with Gil Ingles, and our guest today is Mr. Terry Parker. Yes, one of the gentlemen that helps the SHAPE Community Center. Sir,
Yes, sir.
I normally believe that when we come from a big family, right, we gain a greater sense of community
Absolutely.
because we basically have that community around us at all times. So let's go back a little bit into your background. Let's start with your place of birth.
Port Arthur, Texas. In fact, I can't. You say place of birth. I was
Yes.
birthed by my mother, who was an orator.
Okay.
My mother was a great woman. I mean, my parents were great people. They were highly religious.
Okay.
You know, they raised 10 children. And because we had our sibling rivalries, but mom and dad are always there to be the balancers. you
Right.
know. But my mother was the first, she integrated the PTA.
Mm.
They had the colored PTA,
Okay.
and she integrated the Parents Teachers Association.
Right.
She was the president of the PTA at Lincoln High School, where we went to high school
Okay.
for years.
Gotcha.
She was elected every year
Mm.
because of her activism.
Yeah.
You know,
And what was her name? Or
Ruby
what is her name?
Lee Parker.
Okay. Ruby Lee Parker.
And my father was Deloitte Parker Sr.
Got you.
But we had a loving family.
Yeah.
I would not change my childhood for anything.
Now, of course, as you growing up, there are always those influences. You just mentioned your mom, and I think we can kind of put one and one together and figure out that most of your activism probably already comes from her.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, at what point in your life did you start seeing that vein of activism coming up on you?
As I mentioned, she was the first. She integrated the PTA.
Right.
That was not done without a struggle because there was opposition to that integration.
Yeah.
You know, that was the starting point right there
For you also.
for me.
Yeah.
And for my brother Deloitte, he was always a debater.
Got you.
In fact, he was a debate student in high school. In
Okay.
fact, many people probably know Dr. Freeman from Texas Southern, who was one of his mentors.
Got you.
And some of the issues that he debated was civil rights issues. Yeah.
Right.
So that's how that began.
Yeah. So basically, you really stayed in a family of activists.
A family of activists.
Yeah.
My
And-
father was also a balancer. You know, he would not spare the rod.
Got you.
We were great kids. We didn't do a lot of bad stuff.
Indeed.
You know, we were typical kids.
Yeah.
But Daddy was always there to put us on the right path, to say, son, that's not the way to go.
Right.
Don't embarrass me.
Indeed. Yeah. Because and part of the reason why I'm even touching on family also is because I kind of wanted to get your perspective on how essential you believe that the role of families today needs to be in this modern
I
society.
use the motto of the
Okay.
SPOTLiGHT Community Center. Strong family, strong nation.
There you go. Strong
That's the
family,
motto of the
strong
SPOTLiGHT Community
nation.
Center, yes.
Yeah.
There's no me without you. There's no you without me. You know, we're part of a circle of interdependence.
Right. Yeah. Now, let's touch a little bit on the arts. Okay.
Yes.
When it comes to the Shape Center. Primarily, of course, our point of connection was Mr. Charles Washington.
Correct.
One of the pillars when it comes to arts in the city of Houston.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That the SPOTLiGHT Center openly embraced. And he's a major part of the SPOTLiGHT Community Center.
Right. And do you guys have annual activities for artists such as him? Or how does it exactly work? Give us a bit of an understanding
if
of
you
what.
were to go to the SPOTLiGHT Community Center, we have two locations.
Okay.
We have our administrative building, which is on Alameda, and on Live Oak is where all the activities take place.
Okay.
That's the hood right there.
That's the center.
Right in the hood. That's the center.
Okay.
If you were to enter the SPOTLiGHT Center, you would see many of the pieces that was created by our brother Charles Washington.
Okay. So he
A lot of his art is displayed at the SPOTLiGHT Center.
got you. So he has an exposition there.
Yes, so
Yeah.
we have art every day.
There you go.
Anytime you walk into a museum of art.
Yeah. Now, are there any programs or any activities that you guys have to nurture newer artists and things of that sort?
Yes, we have students from Texas Southern and University of Houston and from some of the high schools. They come in and not just artists but poets.
Yeah.
Poets, artists, you know. They come in and they get inspiration from the SPOTLiGHT Center because of its long-standing position in the community.
Yes.
We have volunteers that come to the SPOTLiGHT Center,
Okay.
and a lot of the people that come to the SPOTLiGHT Center are looking to improve their artistry. Charles Washington is a great influence on them,
Yeah.
and he's very involved
Indeed.
in mentoring as well.
Right.
We have poets like Thomas Melanson, who's one of Houston's great playwrights, who wrote many plays of what
Right.
some that I was a cast member of.
There you go. So you do acting also.
We do acting as well. The Death of O.D. Walker, Where Were You in 65, Whatever Happened to Black Love. Those are just some of the movies, movies.
Plays.
There should have been movies. Some of the plays that were written by Thomas Melanson
Gotcha.
that went viral
Yeah. Indeed.
off Broadway.
Indeed. But let's kind of look back into the one thing that, of course, all of us cannot do without, which is food. So the International Food Festival.
Yes.
Yeah. What is the exact objective of this? And of course, we are in a season in which we are discovering that our health is really dependent on what we eat, right? And how we eat.
Yes. First of all, the International Food Festival
Yeah.
is SHAPE's attempt to to form a coalition in the community of partners who are bridging the gap between cultures and showcasing international flavors through food and culture of other countries, of the regions, and traditions operating within our diversity, within our city.
Right. Okay. So, are you vegan? Are you do you eat everything? That's just
I was vegan.
curiosity.
I'll be honest with you, I was vegan for a year.
Okay.
And I found that I kind of assimilated,
Yeah. Okay.
because I like certain meats. I like fish. I like
Gotcha.
chicken.
Yeah.
So I try to eat that within moderation.
Okay. Within moderation.
Within moderation, but I make sure I get my daily dose of vegetables and fruits and what have you.
Right. Now, for the International Food Festival, if people wanted to participate, let's say, as probably, I guess, cooks or showcase the food from their countries, what would they do? Or what
They
be the
would
approach to do
contact
that?
us, the Shape Community Center, and give us their information.
Okay.
And I'm sure we would embrace their culture
Yeah. Indeed.
without a problem.
Okay. Now, is there anything regarding this great organization that I should have touched that maybe I've not touched that you would like to still share with our audience?
About Shape Community Center?
Yes, sir.
There's so much about Shape, man.
Yeah.
The fact that in its 53 years of existence, it has been in the forefront of civil rights,
Yeah.
social justice, education of our youth. And I did not mention another aspect of Shape.
Okay.
I mentioned family.
Yes.
It's a great proponent of family. Every Thursday, the Shape Center has what we call the Elders Institute of Wisdom,
Okay.
where elders in the community come together and they share wisdom.
Right. Yeah.
And our youth get the wisdom from our elders.
Right. This is actually a great initiative because very few understand the benefit of capitalizing on wisdom gained by our elders. Right.
That's absolutely true. In fact, oral communication
Right.
over centuries have been one way we communicated our culture.
Yes. It's been our primary form of communication.
Our primary form of
as people of
communication.
African descent.
Absolutely, for years.
Yeah.
Aside from the drumming.
Indeed, indeed. And I'm actually glad that you mentioned drumming. Are you aware that Atlanta, Georgia, this year is actually attempting to break the Guinness World Book record of drumming in Atlanta during the Juneteenth festival?
That does not surprise me.
Right.
Didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yes, sir. And I believe that they have a call out for all drummers to actually be in that city on that weekend of I believe June 15th through June the 19th, because I believe that the 19th falls on a Monday.
Yes.
Right. So, but during that weekend, at some point, the attempt is gonna be to break the drumming. Do you drum at all?
No, we have lots of drummers, youth drums. I did a little congos and bongos.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm also an entertainer.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. What's your main form of
I do old school.
Okay.
Old school.
Yeah.
You
Got
know,
you.
Sam Cooke.
So you sing?
Yeah, I sing.
Yeah. Sing. Got it.
Yeah, I perform.
Yeah.
I perform.
As
often.
vocals, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, in the family, we mentioned, of course, you come from a family of 10, and I like to have you, if possible, give us a shout out of all your siblings. Of course, we got the name of the mother, Miss Ruby. We got the name of the father, Mr. Lloyd.
Deloitte.
Deloy. Right. Now, let's get the siblings.
Okay, I'm gonna. Well, we mentioned Deloitte, who is my brother, who's the director of the Shape Community Center.
Right. That's
a brother.
Junior, right?
Junior.
That's Junior.
And I have a brother who transitioned about 7 years ago, Arbery.
Yeah. Our condolences.
Arbery, yes, who was a phenomenal man.
Okay.
Arbery finished high school, I think, in 1962. Upon leaving high school, he went to Dillard University,
Okay.
studying chemistry. because of our financial situation, we weren't well off family. We were 10 children. Daddy struggled to keep us fed and to keep us housed, but he did a good job of it. So Aubrey left Dillard after a year of attending and went to the Air Force. And while in the Air Force, he attended. I mean, he was an Air Force policeman.
Yes.
He was a welterweight boxer. He left the Air Force and he went back to school, University of Houston, got his degree in ethnic studies.
Okay.
And he actually taught at University of Houston for a while.
Yeah.
He was my mentor.
Okay.
He was my mentor,
Yeah.
my best friend. After a period of time, he was a smoker and he smoked a pipe. And after a few years, he contracted COPD.
Okay.
And couldn't do very much, so I was kind of like his caretaker. And he lived in Spring, Texas, and I live in Rosenberg, so I would travel 50 miles one way every day just to help him out so he wouldn't exert a whole lot of energy.
Right.
But he was still functional in that he was a reader.
Okay.
He read a book a week.
Oh, wow.
He had a library in his house.
Yeah. Avid reader.
Ask him anything about African history, he could tell you. He could tell you.
Yeah.
You know, and he was also before he got sick, he was also a probation officer.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
and a lot of his probationers looked up to him because he would always share wisdom with them.
Right.
You know, his daughter, by the way, is a doctor.
Okay. All
And
right.
she lives in New York. Gamilla is her name,
There
Dr.
you go.
Gamilla.
There you go.
And my brother and his wife had sent their daughter on a trip around the world.
Okay.
They financed a trip for around the world.
Okay.
Their rationale for doing this was that she can experience life, experience other cultures, other countries, so that when she got into medical school, she would have all that behind her and she
you
could
go.
focus.
There you go.
You know, she could focus.
Yeah. Let's get it out of the way and get
Yes.
you lined up.
Now,
the
she's
right
been
way.
practicing now for about 25 years. And every time I look on Facebook, I see her in different countries.
Right.
She delivers babies, by the way.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
she travels around the world
Yeah.
still.
Does she have a private practice?
She has a
or
private practice
okay.
in New York.
Do you know what the name of the practice is? If so, you can share with our audience.
It's
I'm sure
Dr.
that someone in New
Gamilla
York.
Pierre. Dr. Gamilla Pierre. That's her name.
Yeah.
You can Google her and they will tell you everything about her life.
All right. Dr. Camilla Pierre.
Yes.
So make
yes.
sure that you guys check her out, especially if you planning on or you are having babies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And my older brother, who's 84 years old now,
Okay.
still working.
Wow.
Still working.
Actively, and when you say working, you mean actively working.
Actively working.
Okay.
He was a police officer. He retired. He was in the Navy for 10 years. 20 years. He retired from there. He was an engineer.
Okay.
He's done it. He retired about 4 or 5 times. You know, and his daughter is a RN.
Okay.
She was a COVID nurse. You know, and
Front lines.
Front lines.
Yeah.
Yes, she was a COVID nurse. And but like I said, he's still working at 84 years old. Yeah.
That is great.
Great guy.
Yeah,
Great guy.
It's great to hear.
And I have a sister who retired from the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Another brother, younger brother who retired.
What's the name of the sister that retired?
There's
from?
Cheryl.
Okay.
Cheryl Parker, who recently got married. So her married name is Prescott.
Okay.
And I have another brother, a younger brother, Carl Parker, who retired as a peace officer as well. I have my youngest brother is a car salesman. He's a broker, also an actor.
Okay.
He acted in a lot of Thomas Alonson plays.
Oh, okay.
And I have a sister who is a pastor in Los Angeles right now, who I lived with when I moved to Los Angeles when I was in my younger days. She's a pastor now. And she's pastored for about 40 years.
Oh, wow.
In fact, Pastor Jean Perez is her name.
Okay. Jean Perez.
Yeah, and her church is Ablaze Ministry.
There you go.
She was mentioned in the book written by Smokey Robinson called Inside My Life, where she was the person that led him to the Lord
Gotcha.
and laid hands on him and got him delivered from crack cocaine. So she's mentioned in his book, Inside My Life.
Yeah.
another sister who passed, Barbara. She passed about 9 years ago.
Yeah, may she rest in peace.
Yes, she was a devout Christian and a prayer warrior. Who did I not mention? I mentioned Deloitte.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who I am. Kenneth, see, it's Kenneth's the youngest. Then there's Carl. Then Cheryl. Oh, Richard. My brother, he passed
Okay.
years
rest in
ago.
peace
The first
also.
of the siblings to pass in a car accident.
Okay. Cool.
He in Port Arthur.
Okay.
And he worked for the city of Port Arthur many years. And then there's myself, I'm the middle child, the peacemaker in the family.
Gotcha.
And then there's Deloitte, and I mentioned Aubrey, my mentor. And then my sister Barbara, who passed. And then there's Geraldine, Pastor Perez.
Right.
And then there's my oldest brother I mentioned that's still working, that's 83 years old,
Right.
Waverly.
Right.
Now, Waverly, my two oldest siblings are only 10 months apart in age.
Okay.
Mama wasn't playing.
Right.
Mama wasn't
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. All right. So it's been great to have you here, and thank you for taking these few minutes out of your busy schedule to share this great.
Thank you so much for having
not
me.
only event but also wisdom with us,
Yes.
because a lot of times I believe that we are becoming a society that believes that there is no benefit in hearing the wisdom from our elders, but there's really plenty to do.
Absolutely.
And I believe that the motto of the SHAPE Community Center, which is
Strong family, strong nation.
right, strong family, strong nation, is something that, in all honesty, we all need to at some point hold on to, even if just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And for those of you that took time out of your schedules to listen to this great interview, as always, I appreciate you doing so. And remember, we don't do it for ourselves. No one else will. Peace.